day you realize you need me.
So, for those of you who remember, I've been making a webtoons comic called The Dawn of Gales for the past, 3 years now, and I have made some progress. It's not the greatest, but I was able to make pages once a month every other month, with progress of improved style and reference sheets that I've been continuously updating, as most of my remaining characters still need updates, and some of the content that I have made is little cheat sheets for myself that haven't made it into the comic yet, so realistically, I need to take a hiatus on the comic to be able to relax not only for the holidays, but for myself, to catch up on the webcomic pages, because from what I have learned as a self-taught digital artist for both YouTube general art means and of course my webcomic, is that a lot of this takes time and experience, and I have only just recently had the experience of over the past 3 years of what it's like to make a webcomic from scratch. The first thing that I learned is I need those reference sheets, and I did not make those reference sheets until just recently. All I had was a single picture of the character with a lot of shading and highlighting, and for those who don't know, that when you are trying to color swatch a character that is going to be drawn over and over again, you need to make sure that you have proper proportions and references, and when your colors don't match from the beginning page to your most recent one, besides of course character growth, and for me that would be artistic growth, meaning that my art style is of course going to change, but if I stop every few months to re-release my comic's never going to get finished. So all I did was make sure that everything from a certain point onward looks a certain way, hence why I make my pages in a bulk batch where before I wasn't able to. I had a lot going on. For those who don't know, there was a lot during 2021, 2022, where I was going through the process of moving from one country to another to be with my now husband, also learning about myself, a lot of things with the whole void and growing up with masking my emotions under strict Catholic household rules and family being vulture parents and and all kinds of other things like that, where I was trying to struggle to identify a lot of what made my art my own. A lot of it was I'm making it for myself, but also for others, and there was just this battle in my head with the void that a lot of what I made wasn't worth it. And then other sides of things where I was like, oh, I don't like how my fan art looks because it looks too close to the original, because I was so used to heavily referencing in an almost grid by grid format. I also realized that if I just do something over and over again, which is good for a comic, it gets a lot easier. Having a reference sheet, front, back, and side, helps me when making characters, having expressions sheets, having the items that they have that appear in the story, such as, for instance, Vixie's book, some of the characters' backpacks, potions, all of these that need to be drawn over and over again at the ready are great. Same thing with if I do not have a pose in mind, I can look up tons of references that exist there. There are tons of places where people make free-to-use photos where they're positioned in certain ways, and this can also be utilized in some programs such as Clip Studio Paint, I think, that have those 3D models that you can do it yourself, but I don't want to do that because it's a new program, and if you're like me and you go from, let's say, for example, Photoshop to an app called Metabang Paint, which for those of you who don't know, that was what I used to use. Completely different set of tools, completely different things. You can still do art on it, but it'll take you a while to adjust to it. That was what happened with me when I was making some of my pages. I was used to making single character reference sheets and illustrations, but I wasn't used to making backgrounds, especially in the vertical format that was webtoons. Doing research by following tutorials and all kinds of other things was helpful at the beginning, but you have to be able to take that information, knowledge, all of that, and use it to your own skills and tool sets and all of that kind of stuff. For me, a lot of my environment was warping my story. A lot of things that happened were put into the characters, and you could see it with some of my art videos on YouTube, mostly, rather than my comic, where initially, Vixie was my persona for YouTube, a mascot, not an individual character that had personality and growth to them, and a lot of that needed to change to better fit for the story, or it was gonna be clumsy, and it wasn't working. So all of this stuff was going on whilst all of my other lively activities had kept me busy, including the most recent, and why I haven't been posting, a new part-time job that had me busy for a good 4 days a week, for a good 6 to 8 hours a day, meaning that even if I worked on it before and after I got home, I still had to account for taking care of our 2 adorable little chihuahuas, and myself, my husband, and friends and family, and general household things. So all of these things take up time. No matter how much I say, oh, I can do this, realistically, I have to make sure that I am holding myself not only accountable for the things that need to be done, but have time so that I don't get burnout, art block, and wind up making something that I'm not proud of. This has also extended to me upgrading a lot of my tools in time, where I have recently downloaded Procreate Dreams, which is awesome. Except for the fact that right now it's got day 1 bugs and I'm working on it to fix it, so I won't be immediately sharing my thoughts on it until some things get figured out and fixed. Hence why I wanted to make this video today, to share with you what I do have available, and to share with you what it's like making a webcomic from scratch when you literally don't know what you're doing, and having roughly 3 years under my belt of making various pages, all of the stuff that I have behind the scenes, which you can see without spoilers, of course, so that you know what I've been doing. I have an entire 2 different books where one of them tells me everything that I need, including some of the written spells and text and sign. It's like an alphabet, some of the currency, the character species of Ninko, which is my humanoid creatures that have ears, paws, tails, feathers, and that, and they don't have digitigrade legs. They have human legs or human chest, but they're not humans. Then I have Nokians, which is my version of anthropomorphics or furries. This can be scale, fur, feathers, aquatic species, all of that. Then Grovans, which are the non-anthropomorphic. Usually they're like either a flat snake or turtles, or 3 to 4 to 6-legged creatures that could have fur, scales, wings, and bug-like. Then unknown or unclassified is the more magical species that look very strange, and then ferals, which are more like fish and bugs and plants that don't have sentience, because I do have plant, humanoid, anthropomorphic, Ninko, Nokians, and Grovans to flesh out the world of Nexus, but all of this takes time, and that's something that right now I want to be able to take a step back and share it all with you as I'm working on it, but I need this hiatus to actually build up my comic and portfolio of all of this stuff, or else this comic is going to die in the forever pile of unfinished projects if I don't take time to do this properly. And this has all been a wonderful learning experience for me, and I hope to be able to share this with you, but basically I had jumped the gun because it was something that was a sort of art relief coping mechanism while I was busy, and I enjoyed making it, and for a brief period of time I wasn't able to enjoy it, and now that I'm able to, with my new schedule that seems to be more permanent, know what I'm working with, be able to actually work on this and share it with you each time that I work on it, but I need to take that step back realistically to actually be able to do so, and I hope that you will stick around to join me for this part of my art journey, and if you have any questions about my comic, I'm happy to answer. Also, if you're like me and you are super hyper-fixated and obsessed with other people's creations, which can be wonderful for motivation and inspiration, but you're like me, and you get so absorbed into it that you forget and you lose track of time, be it a good book, a video game, other webtoons comics, other YouTubers, all of those TikToks, everything that you're spending time on doing something when you know that you should be working on your own projects can be a bit of a struggle. For me, I have to find a fine balance of when I need a break so that I'm not having burnout or art block. I work on those things, but I also know that it's kind of like having a part-time job. The risk of, in this case, being fired is not there because it's not my part-time job, but I treat it like such because of its high importance. Hence why my communication of me updating every time that I would need to take a hiatus could be seen as a bit of a flaky worker. So with me not having the experience and learning as I'm going as a self-taught digital artist, doing the comic and everything all by myself, it was very frustrating for me when I would reach sort of a block in the road with my art where I was able to make a bunch of posts for a while, back to back. I was even able to make 2 posts in 1 month, and I was doing so well, and that just outside factors caused a giant hurdle. There is nothing wrong with having to take a moment as long as you communicate with your audience who is invested, because I have also been on the side where I've been so invested in someone's comic only to find out a few weeks later when I go to check back in that they have cancelled the project entirely, or for some reason, sometimes they delete their projects entirely because of tons of unrelated things, and it can happen. I do not want my comics to have to disappear off the face of the planet because I intend to be able to make this webcomic and know what I am capable of, because I have seen my works at both my lowest and my highest, and being able to find that proper balance is something that I hope to be able to share with all of you, because who knows where my comic's going to be in the future. But when I look back on these videos, not only as a portfolio and history for myself, but for all of you to get to see and join me along my art journey on YouTube and webtoons and TikTok for fun. One final thing to note is, of course, my own personal growth and development over the years. Just from a year ago alone, I hardly recognize how I was making things, but also just looking back when I first made this comic to where it is now, so much has changed. When talking to my friends and others online with what I initially planned versus what I have now, I have learned so much through all of my self-taught art and studies and all the things that I've done, and I hope in turn to be able to share that with you as my art journey continues. And thank you so very, very much for watching to the end of today's video. Stay possum subscribblers, and I hope you're having a possum week and weekend. And of course, I would love to give a special thank you to my wonderful patrons, including Frankie Jr. 13 and Spot Draws. Hold it right there, don't click off this video just yet. Why not check out some playlists of my videos while you wait for the next upload, and if you'd like to support my works and see more, click that link card down below. Patreon exclusive rewards for the Fennec Fox tier includes access to secret artwork, Arctic Foxes get shoutouts at the end of my videos, and early access to art and videos. Red Foxes have the opportunity to be featured when I need background characters or a commission instead. Subscribe for free if you have not already to join the Subscribblers squad, and tag me in some of that artwork and I'll share it in the Subscribblers gallery. Stay possum, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.